When was the last time you made a new friend? Not another mom that you see every Tuesday at soccer practice, not someone you smiled at while your kids are playing together, not someone whose name you only know because your children happen to be on the same team. I mean, a real friend, someone you would actually text, someone you'd invite over for dinner, someone you'd meet for coffee, even if your kids weren't there. Because something happened to us over this past 4th of July weekend that made me realize somewhere along the way, many of us stopped building friendships for ourselves and started building them only for our kids. And maybe that's one of the reasons why so many moms feel so lonely. Welcome back to Struggle and Strength Moms Balancing It All with Nikki. Today's episode is one that's been sitting on my heart this past weekend. Because if you've ever felt lonely, even though you're surrounded by people, if you've ever wondered why making friends feels so much harder than it did 30, 40 years ago when we were so young, or even why every relationship seems to revolve around your children, I want you to know you're not alone. And I don't think it's because there's anything wrong with us. Of course not, right? I think it's because our lives have changed. So let me tell you this story. This weekend was the 4th of July, and on Friday, we went to this event in one of the towns. I know the 4th of July was on Saturday, but my husband was like, "We have to go to this event." We went there last year. It was so amazing. They had all these bouncy houses, and it was all free, which was amazing. So they have like bouncy houses and this trampoline thing. They have face painting, balloon artists, pie eating contests, like vendors galore. It's amazing. And usually we go for like 3 to 4 hours. And honestly, it was just like I was expecting the exact same thing as last year. My husband and I bring our chairs, our coolers, we sit there, we drink, we have fun while the kids go play. And we tell them, "Stick together, don't go anywhere where we can't see you, come in and check out with us." And we sit literally in, like, the middle of the event, and, like, all the bouncy houses are all around us. And there's games, there's food, fireworks, families everywhere. The kids were so excited. And I figured it's just gonna be like every other event. Kids are gonna have fun. We're just gonna, sit in the middle, my husband and I, and we're just gonna, like, finally catch up on our conversations, you know? And then, of course, it's like the kids go meet all their friends, um, and that's it. And then we pack up, we go home, and, you know, that's usually what happens. But this time was different. And so my daughter was standing in line waiting for this like jump trampoline thing. They have them at the malls, where they hook them up to the bungee cords and they get to jump on the pad and like try and do the flips. And then because the lines were so long, the boys went and got into the balloon artist line. And last year, they did all the bouncy houses, waited to do this trampoline thing, got up there like right before the fireworks went to start, and then they closed the ride down. So it was so upsetting. So this year, of course, that's the very first thing we had to go do. So she's standing in line, and I go to check up on her. I told my husband, okay, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm gonna go check up on our daughter and see where the boys are at. Cause I can see them, but I'm like, okay, I really wanna see, like, okay, how's everything going? And I go over there and there's a mom and a daughter that she's just chatting away with. And I thought, "Oh, this is cool." Like she just, my daughter's super friendly. She met a friend. And so, I thought, "Okay, I'll just make some small talk. Like we're in line, conversations like, "Oh, how's it going? Have you been here before?" That kind of thing. And usually, there's nothing wrong with those conversations, but it usually just stops there. Like the kids, they have fun, we're in line, and then that's about it. But this time, something different, like, totally happened. And it's almost like the same feeling when I met my husband. We went out, and I'm not saying love, but, like, we went out and we were hooked up on a blind date, And we had some small talk, and then it was like, "Okay, no big deal." Then we went to IHOP late at night. We stayed there, we talked for hours, and then it was like, we couldn't get enough. Like, "Okay, when's the next time we're gonna meet?" Well, so this mom and her daughter, they had just moved here from another country, and, we're finding out that we have a lot in common. And the conversation is not just focused around our kids. It's totally different. And then her husband comes with their little son, and I mean, same thing, like, great conversation. So I'm like, "Oh, my husband's over there, like, let's go over there, let's go meet." And same thing, like, great conversations, and it wasn't centered around the kids. Instead, it was talking about life. Like, how'd you move here? What do you guys do? What's your business, travel, goals? Like, how's the whole thing come together? I mean, I literally just got a message. She had to go on a trip this week, like literally yesterday. And I just got a message from her. She's sending me pictures. Like, it was almost love at first sight, like when I met my husband, but like love at first, not like love, but like could be a really good friendship. And it's not just centered around the kids. Yeah, the kids get along, the kids had a fantastic time, but it's we actually talked about the things that make us who we are. And the conversation felt easy. It felt natural. It felt like we've known each other for years. We laughed, we shared stories, we helped each other out, in those parenting moments. Like, we each had our own strengths, and that came out with other people's kids, and it was like, "Yeah, sure." Like, we felt so comfortable with each other that it was like we've known them for years. And then from there, it was like, "Hey, we're going out on the boat tomorrow. You guys wanna come?" And of course, they're like, "Yeah, that'd be amazing." I mean, we literally just met these people, and we're already inviting them out to come out with us the next day. Same thing that happened with my husband. It was like, "Hey, when's the next time we're gonna meet?" Like, I think we actually made friends, and these weren't, like, forced friends that I'm coaching their kids on soccer, or that we've met on a team and we just see each other and randomly say like, "Oh, how was your weekend? Oh, it was great. What'd you guys do?" Not diving friends that we're just going on competitions with, or school friends that we only meet up for school events, but actual real friends. Like, I don't even know the last time that I've made a friend outside of, like, business or networking or kids' activities. And on the drive home, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Why did that feel so rare? Like, when did making friends become so hard for us adults? Like, when I was younger, friendships just happened. We lived down the street, we lived in the same neighborhood, we played together all the time. You went off to college, you guys lived together as roommates or in the dorm. We worked together, we went to class together, had endless hours to sit and talk. But now, everywhere we go has a purpose. There's soccer practice, there's diving, there's tennis, or church, school pickups, birthday parties. Like, we're constantly taking our kids somewhere, but we're very rarely putting ourselves in places where friendships can grow naturally. And then it hit me. Like, we've become really intentional about helping our kids build friendships. We encourage them to invite friends over. We sign them up for activities. We drive them to birthday parties. I just drove literally like 45 minutes to a birthday party yesterday for my daughter. But when was the last time that we actually did that for ourselves? Somewhere along the way, many of us stopped believing that we needed friendships too. Or maybe we just became too busy, too tired, too scheduled, too focused on everyone else's lives. And before we knew it, our entire social life became an extension of our children's. Like, if your child doesn't play with that kid anymore, do you really see the parent? Not really. Even though you had great conversations, I've had amazing conversations. I've connected so well with my kids' parents, my kids' friends' parents, that's what I meant to say. But once we stop seeing each other, the relationship stops and it ends. And it's not like those that we just go out and we say, "Hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee." It's always like, "Hey, let's go meet up with the kids and then we'll talk." Yeah, that's great. And there's nothing wrong with that. And some of the most amazing people I've met are through my kids. But I'm realizing something. Sometimes I know everything about someone's child and almost nothing about them. I always tell people, like, in my networking groups or in my, like, when I try to sell products and things, I'm like, "I have no friends." So I can't, like, don't rely on me being able to, like, reach out to like, I have 0 friends because I sit in my office all day long, I work remote, there's not very many people in my company, we don't see each other because, we see each other on Zoom, that's about it. Literally, my only friends are my clients, which I love, or, like, work friends that I've met through networking or kids, the parents of kids that I've met. I don't have any real friends outside of, like, my best friends from when I was 4 years old, which is sad, you know, because how am I to grow older and be able to go out and have coffee and do all these things? It's like, I don't have friends. I don't have people that I can call when things get rough. I don't have people that I can just, like, shoot the shit with or, where I can talk mom, like, what's going on with our kids? Like, how do I handle this? My daughter's about to be a teenager. Oh my gosh. Not this year, but in a couple years. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, who do I have to talk to?" I don't have mom friends. And I also think high achieving moms experience this even more. Whether you work outside the home, run a business, or simply carry the mental load of your family, there's always another responsibility waiting, another email, another practice, another appointment, another load of laundry. And friendships start feeling like optional. It's like, I don't have time for that? And then until one day, like me, you realize you're lonely. Not because you're alone, but because you miss being known, being seen for who you are, not just whose mom you are, not just what you do for everyone else, just you. Like, who are you? Meeting this couple reminded me that meaningful friendships still exist. They're just harder to find because we rarely give ourselves the opportunity. Friendships aren't built in 5-minute conversations on the sidelines. They grow when we're willing to stay a little longer. Ask one more question. Share something real. Be curious about the person standing in front of us, not just the child standing beside them. And that's so hard to do this day and age. And that's why I feel like it kind of the other night just clicked for us because it wasn't, they just moved here, their kids weren't in the school, like, they don't know anything about the area, they're from another country, and so we got to talk about who we were, our lives, like, how things are different between the countries and things that they're experiencing and how that was for them, like how selling their house was or how moving here was, or like those things that you talk about in life, not just about, oh, the kids. Like, yeah, there was mention of kids and the kids had a great time. They were off playing by themselves. So it was amazing that we didn't have to focus on the kids. And our kids at this point had nothing in common. I mean, they do, but they didn't have anything like the same school or the same soccer team or the same this that we could talk about and then like gripe about how we don't like whatever. It's like usually you get together and you're like, oh, this program, like, why can't they do this? Or why isn't the communication better? Oh, our schedule is ridiculous. This is crazy. We're having to drive this, there, and everywhere. But here we didn't have to talk about that because they just moved here. And so it was like a clean, fresh slate. And recently we found that too when we went on our cruise. We found another couple with kids where our kids could go have fun and we could talk about life. And it was amazing. And we had such a great connection. And so recently we've been experiencing these like new friendships that haven't happened in literally like 20 plus years. I would say the last time I made friends, like real friends where I could go out and have fun, was before I met my husband. Because let's face it, like after you meet your husband, then it's like you spend all your time with them, your significant other, your spouse. And so then time for friends, it just kind of drifts away. And then you start building the life with kids, and then it's like you try to get together, but then you have all these kid activities and it's like, "Oh my gosh, we have no time for anything." Barely even talk to my husband, let alone like another parent, right? Outside of the kids' activities. So this week I kept asking myself, like, what if one of the greatest gifts we could give ourselves is permission to build a life outside of our children's schedules? Not because we love our kids any less, but because healthy moms need community too. Healthy moms need people they can laugh with, cry with, celebrate with, people who remind them who they actually are. Maybe that's why this friendship felt so special. It reminded me that I wasn't just someone's mom. I was Nikki, a woman with dreams, ideas, goals, stories, and apparently people who genuinely, I can't say that word, people who genuinely wanted to hear them. So think about that today. Think about when the last time you told stories about your life, you remembered who you were as yourself, not as a mom, not as a wife, not as a businesswoman, but who you actually truly are. So today, I want you to leave with one question. When was the last time you made a friend just for you? Not because your kids were friends, not because you worked together, but because you genuinely enjoyed each other's company. If it's been a while, maybe this is your sign. Say yes to the invitation. Stay a little longer after the game or the event or the celebration. Invite another mom to coffee. Start the conversation because your kids aren't the only ones who deserve meaningful friendships. You do too. So, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Struggle and Strength Moms Balancing It All with Nikki. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with another mom who might be feeling lonely, like me, like they have no friends, even in the middle of a busy life. And if you haven't already, I'd be so grateful if you would subscribe, leave a review. It helps this podcast reach more moms who need these conversations. And until next time, please remember, you deserve friendships that remind you who you are, not just whose mom you are.